He said, "This is my house." So I showed him the receipt. I stood in my own kitchen, staring at my brother as he sat on the bar stool like a king on a throne, legs spread, TV blaring, the fridge open behind him, and groceries I had bought laid out like a feast he never lifted a finger to prepare. He turned his head, barely glancing at me, and smirked. "Can you grab more almond milk?" "Real low." Almond milk. Like that was the crisis of the day. Not the fact that he hadn't paid rent in 6 months. Not that I'd come home early from work to find my own key didn't work because he'd changed the locks without asking. I dropped my bag and said quietly, "Did you change the locks?" He didn't even flinch. "Yeah, yours was sticking. I had a guy come by." "Better now?" Without asking me, he took a bite of something. "I think it was my leftover steak. You weren't around. Figured I'd handle it." Let me give you some context. My name's Tom. I'm 33, single, and I bought this house 4 years ago after grinding for a decade in tech sales. Nothing glamorous, but I saved, budgeted, skipped vacations and parties and new cars until I had a down payment. It was mine. My name on the deed, my name on every bill. And that first night I slept on the floor with no furniture, just a space heater and my dog. I remember thinking, I built this. Brick by brick. And then my older brother Nate lost his job. I felt bad for him. Really, I did. He's always been the golden boy, the charming one. College athlete, corporate gigs, nice suits. But things went south fast after his divorce. And when he called me saying he needed a place to crash, I said yes without hesitation. Just for a couple weeks, he promised. Till I get back on my feet. That was 14 months ago. At first it was fine. He helped with yard work, cooked sometimes, even brought beer home. We watched old games, caught up like we were teenagers again. But slowly, things shifted. He stopped looking for jobs, spent more time on the couch, started treating the house like his own. Friends came over. People I didn't know. They used my bathroom, slept on my furniture. He gave out the Wi-Fi password like it was his name. And every time I pushed back, he laughed it off. "Relax, little bro. You're wound tight." Little bro. I hadn't been his little anything in a decade. Still, I didn't push hard. Guilt, maybe. Family's supposed to help family. And I knew how hard his fall had been. But when I noticed my wine collection missing bottles and my Netflix profile replaced with some weird username, I started keeping tabs. He wasn't just crashing anymore. He was settling. Then, last Friday, the real kicker happened. I came home and my bedroom door was open. My bedroom. And inside, his date. Half asleep in my bed. "Nate said you were out of town," she mumbled. I didn't yell. I didn't explode. I backed out, shut the door, and drove to a friend's place. Sat in my car, shaking with anger and disbelief. Saturday morning, I asked him to meet me in the kitchen. Tried to be civil. "We need to talk," I said. He sighed like I was some overdramatic roommate. "Let me guess. The bed thing. She's clean, don't worry." I blinked. "Nate, this is my house. My room." He scoffed. "Yeah? Well, I've lived here over a year. That counts for something. And maybe if you didn't keep disappearing for work all the time, your space wouldn't feel so vacant." Vacant. He said my home felt vacant. That was the moment I knew. He didn't feel like a guest anymore. He felt like an owner. So I gave him notice. "You've got 30 days to find a new place." He laughed in my face. "You're seriously kicking out your own brother? After everything?" "I'm not kicking you out," I said. "I'm taking my house back." That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, he's done everything to make me uncomfortable. Locked doors, cold shoulders, weird comments to friends. And today, changing the locks on me. So I went to my room, took out the folder I keep for emergencies. Mortgage documents, title, closing contract. Came back to the kitchen, dropped it on the counter between us. He glanced down. "What's this?" I flipped to the page with my name. The deed. Pointed. "This," I said, "is my house." His jaw tightened. "Yeah? Well, it doesn't make you less of a jackass." "Maybe," I said, "but it means you're a jackass who's about to get served." And I meant it. I'd already called a lawyer. Next up, the eviction notice. I didn't sleep that night. Not a minute. I lay on my couch, because I sure as hell wasn't sleeping in the same house as Nate anymore. Not comfortably. Just staring at the ceiling, listening to every creak and footstep like I was waiting for a break-in. That's what it felt like now. Like I was living with a squatter who thought he had squatter's rights. At 6:03 a.m., I sent the message. Per legal advice, consider this your 30-day notice to vacate the property. Failure to comply will result in formal eviction proceedings. I hit send, then took a screenshot. Everything documented. I left the house before he woke up, drove to the courthouse downtown, filed the paperwork with hands that were still shaking from the fury I hadn't let out. I half expected some bored clerk to laugh me out of the building, but the woman behind the glass just nodded, slid over the forms, and said, "Seen plenty of these. Brother, huh?" I nodded. "They're the worst," she muttered. By noon, the paperwork was processed. I walked out with a copy of the eviction notice and a small stack of legal instructions I could barely focus on. My stomach was tight. Not from doubt. I didn't doubt this was the right move. From grief. Because I realized Nate wasn't coming back from this. Not to me. When I got home, he was in the garage, blasting music while pretending to clean weights he never used. The second he saw the manila envelope in my hand, his whole posture changed. "Are you serious right now?" "Dead serious. You went to the damn courthouse. You left me no choice." He stepped forward, eyes burning. "You really think some piece of paper scares me?" "It should," I said. "Because if you don't leave on your own, sheriff's coming next." That night was quiet. Too quiet. He didn't speak. Didn't come out of his room. Just silence. And honestly, that was worse. Because silence meant he was planning something. 3 days later, I found out what. Came home from work, walked in, and the place smelled like smoke. Not fire. Just smoke. Heavy, stale, lingering. I followed the scent to the back deck. And there he was. Shirtless, beer in hand, cigarette dangling from his lip, and a bonfire blazing in the pit I hadn't touched since last fall. "What are you burning?" I asked. He looked at me slowly, then smiled. "Old bills. Junk. Some of your college crap I found in the attic." I froze. "You burn my boxes?" "Relax," he said. "It was just papers. Some dusty trophies. Nothing valuable." I didn't answer. I just turned and walked back inside before I did something I couldn't undo. Next morning, I checked the attic. A third of my old stuff was gone. Trophies, letters, photos, memories. Gone. No apology. No explanation. Just a smirk when I saw him again. Like he wanted me to know exactly what line he was willing to cross. So I stopped talking. Stopped explaining. Stopped justifying why I wanted my own life back. 2 weeks left until the 30-day mark. 2 weeks until he was gone. And then I got the email from my mortgage company. Urgent. Attempted change of account holder details. I reread it 3 times before it sank in. Someone had called and tried to transfer ownership of my account. Claimed to be me. Asked about refinancing. I called them immediately. The woman on the phone was rattled. "He had your name, your address, your last 4. We flagged it, but he sounded legit." I knew who it was. He was trying to take the house. And now it was war. War sounds dramatic, but that's what it felt like. I spent the next few days locking down every document I could think of. Passwords, bank accounts, tax files. I even bought a small safe for the house and stashed everything important inside. The weirdest part? He didn't say a word about it. Not about the fire. Not about the mortgage stunt. Just carried on like nothing had happened. Which, honestly, scared me more. Then came Thursday. I got home and noticed his car wasn't in the driveway. Relief. For the first time in weeks, I had the house to myself. I made dinner, put on a record, sat on the deck and listened to the crickets. For a few brief hours, it felt like my house again. Until I got a text at 11:43 p.m. "He's at the bar bragging about how he's about to own your place. Thought you should know." It was from Lexi, a mutual friend. Well, more mine than his. She'd known us both since high school. I stared at the message for a full minute, then called her. "He said what?" "He was drunk," she said. "But loud. Telling people he was going to contest your ownership. Said your mental health wasn't stable enough to manage property. That you were, quote, an unstable little control freak who needs a wake-up call." I thanked her, hung up, and felt something inside me snap. He was going nuclear. And now he was dragging my mental health into it? That crossed a line I didn't even know I had. See, back in my early 20s, I had a breakdown. Burnout. Stress. Ended up in therapy. Nothing dramatic, just too much for too long. I got help. I got better. But Nate knew that. Knew it had been a hard chapter. And now he was using it. The next morning, I called my lawyer. "We need to accelerate this. He's trying to discredit me." She was calm but firm. "The law's on your side. Paperwork's clean. Title's yours. He can talk all he wants. But the sheriff's coming." Still, I couldn't sit still. I started taking photos of the damage, the beer cans, the mess. I printed text messages, emails, anything that proved he was hostile, reckless, manipulative. By Sunday, I had a folder thick enough to make a case in court. Then Sunday night, everything changed. I came home late. Parking lot full. Lights on. Noise inside. My heart sank. I opened the door and found a party. Not a hangout. A full-blown, 30-person rager. Music, booze, people I'd never seen before dancing in my living room. My couch had a red wine stain the size of a pillow. And there he was, center of the room, shirt off, holding court like a frat boy king. "Tommy," he shouted. "You're just in time." I didn't answer. I walked into the kitchen, grabbed my phone, and dialed 911. "There's a large, unauthorized party at my residence," I said. "I need officers dispatched immediately." And then I walked outside and waited. 2 cruisers pulled up 10 minutes later. I met them at the curb, explained everything, showed my ID, the deed. They nodded. One went to the door. The other asked, "You want to press trespassing charges?" "Not yet," I said. "Just clear them out." "But if they refuse?" The officer nodded. "Understood." 15 minutes later, my house was empty. And Nate? He stood on the porch, arms crossed, eyes dark. "You called the cops on me. You threw a party in my house. You're unbelievable." "No," I said. "I'm done." And I shut the door. That night, I bolted it. And for the first time in months, I slept. The eviction date was now less than a week away. I circled it on the calendar like a man counting down to freedom. July 3rd. That was the day the sheriff would arrive. The day this nightmare would finally end. But Nate? He was calm. Too calm. Every morning, I'd wake up half expecting to find my tires slashed or the plumbing ripped out. Instead, I'd find the dishes washed, the floors swept. He was playing some kind of long game. The sudden helpfulness felt like a trap. Then came Tuesday. I was in the office when I got a notification. Home security system, garage door open. I tapped into the live feed. The angle was wide, mostly shadows. But I saw him, dragging something large out of the garage. My filing cabinet. My heart dropped. I hadn't even thought to move that. I kept old tax returns, personal files, backup drives inside. I raced home, ran through the front door yelling his name. No answer. The garage was empty. The cabinet? Gone. I checked the backyard. Nothing. The street. Nothing. Then I saw it. In the alley behind the house, sitting next to a pile of trash bags. Broken open, files scattered, water damaged, shredded. I picked up one piece. My 2018 tax return. Another, a birthday card from my late grandmother. He'd dumped my life in the garbage. I stormed back inside. Found him in the living room, calm as ever. "You took my cabinet." He looked up from the TV. It was cluttering the garage. "You destroyed personal records. Family things." He shrugged. "Should have locked it up." I stared at him, trying to find the brother I used to know. The one who taught me to ride a bike. Who stayed up with me after our dog died. But he wasn't there. There was just this smug, bitter man who thought tearing me down meant building himself up. I turned to go, then stopped. "I hope whatever you're trying to prove is worth it." "Oh, it is," he said, not looking away from the screen. "Because when they drag me out of here, I want the whole neighborhood watching. I want them to see how you treat family." That was it. He wasn't just stalling. He was planning a scene, a performance, a final act designed to make me the villain. So I changed my plan. I called my lawyer. "What if we offer a cash for keys deal? No eviction record. Just leave quietly, and I pay him." She paused. "He broke your trust, tried to sabotage you, and you want to pay him?" "No," I said. "I want him gone. Clean. No drama." She sighed. "I'll draft it." We offered him $2,000 if he vacated in 48 hours. He took less than 10 minutes to respond. "Make it 5, and I'll be gone tomorrow." I didn't hesitate. Deal. And just like that, the war was over. Or so I thought. The next morning, I came downstairs at 7:02 a.m. to find the front door wide open. Bags packed. Boxes stacked. The kitchen stripped of every snack, pan, and spoon that wasn't nailed down. Even the coffee maker was gone. And Nate, sitting on the stoop with a duffel bag and a smug expression. "Movers will be here in an hour," he said, sipping from my travel mug. I just nodded. Didn't speak. Didn't trust myself to. He stood, stretched like it was just another normal day, and said, "Guess this is goodbye, little bro." I held out the envelope. 5,000 in crisp bills. Cash, as agreed. He took it, thumbed through it like he was checking chips at a poker table. You always were the serious one, he muttered. Then he added something under his breath as he walked down the driveway, but I couldn't hear it. At exactly 9:17 a.m., the moving truck rolled out. Nate rode shotgun. And just like that, he was gone. I closed the door, locked it, leaned against it, and slid down to the floor. Silence. Pure, heavy, beautiful silence. I stayed there a long time. By evening, I started to breathe again. Unpacked a few things he hadn't gotten to. Replaced the locks. Took down the blackout curtains he'd insisted on installing in the living room. Bit by bit, the house felt like mine again. But the peace didn't last. 3 days later, I got a letter. Hand-delivered. No stamp. No return address. Inside, a photocopy of a receipt. A receipt from the night he changed the locks. $312, locksmith service. And a note, scrawled beneath it. Since you care about property so much, you can reimburse me. Let me know when to send my invoice. And I laughed. Not a happy laugh. A dry, hollow one. The kind that says, of course. Of course he found one more way to dig. I tossed the letter in the trash. But the next morning, he texted me. Haven't heard back about that reimbursement. Gonna assume you're ignoring me. Real mature. Blocked. Then he tried email. Then called from a different number. Then posted a long, vague status on Facebook about people who abandon family once they get money. I didn't respond to any of it. Because here's the thing, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was done. Done being the buffer, the fixer, the crutch. Done hoping he'd wake up one day and be the brother I remembered. Sometimes the only way to move forward is to stop looking back. And the house. It finally felt like home again. No more games. No more gaslighting. No more battles for control. Just quiet. And that quiet? That was everything. A month passed. The quiet settled into a routine. I was sleeping better. Cooking again. Inviting people over without clearing it with anyone first. My house, my life, my rules. But every so often, I'd feel it. That twitch of unease. Like someone had just whispered my name in an empty room. Then, 2 months to the day after Nate left, I got a knock at the door. Not the doorbell. A knock. Slow. Heavy. I opened it and froze. There he was. Not smug. Not angry. Just tired. Hollow-eyed. One backpack on his shoulder. Tom, he said. I need your help. I didn't move. Didn't speak. Just stared. I'm not here to fight, he added quickly. I swear. Just let me explain. My instinct. Slammed the door. But something in his voice stopped me. I stepped aside. He came in like a ghost. Sat at the edge of the couch, as if afraid it would reject him. I lost the apartment, he said. The job didn't pan out. Tried couch surfing, but I burned too many bridges. He laughed bitterly. Turns out, not everyone likes being treated like crap. I waited. I messed up, Tom. More than I even knew. And not just with you. With everyone. He looked up. Eyes red. I don't expect to stay. I need a place to crash tonight. Just one night. Then I'll figure it out. The silence between us was a living thing. Part of me wanted to say yes. That old part. The part raised to believe blood is thicker. But a louder part said, no. Because one night becomes a week. A week becomes a pattern. A pattern becomes your life slipping out from under you. I took a deep breath. I hope you mean everything you said. I hope you really are trying. But I can't go through that again. His face fell. Just a floor, man. I won't even talk. You had a home here, I said. And you made it hell. I don't owe you another chance. He stood, angry now. Wow. Cold. No, I said. Boundaried. He stared at me like he didn't recognize the man in front of him. Then he turned, walked to the door. Before stepping out, he paused. I used to look out for you, when we were kids. Yeah, I said. And then you stopped. He left, and I didn't follow. Not this time. That night, I sat by the window, watching the street. He didn't come back. And for the first time in my life, I let him go without guilt. Some ghosts don't need to be exorcised. Just acknowledged. And then, peacefully, ignored. I thought that was the end of it. But endings are rarely clean. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my aunt. She lives across town, the only relative who stayed close but neutral through all this. She didn't pick sides, just sent holiday cards and occasional texts. Tom, she said, I don't want to alarm you, but Nate showed up here. I sat down. This morning, said he needed a place. I didn't let him in, but he looked bad. Like, not just tired. Wrecked. I stayed quiet. He asked for your address. I told him I wasn't giving it. But Tom. She hesitated. He's unraveling. That word hit me harder than I expected. Unraveling. I thanked her. Hung up. And then I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I prayed for him. Not for reconciliation. Not for peace. Just that he find bottom safely. And maybe a way back up. The next day, I got another call. This time from a rehab facility downtown. Hi. This is Beth calling from Sunrise Recovery. We have a Nathan listed as your emergency contact. He gave us your number. I was stunned. She continued. He checked involuntarily. Said he had nowhere else. Asked us to let you know he's okay. He didn't ask for anything. Just that we passed that along. I didn't know what to say. I asked if he was safe. She said yes. That was all. For a long time, I stared at the phone, wondering what this meant. If it changed anything. If I should feel something more than stunned relief. But mostly, I felt gratitude. That he chose help. That maybe, finally, he stopped trying to win and started trying to heal. I didn't visit. I didn't call. I sent a card. Just a simple note. I hope this is the beginning of better. No signature. No expectation. Just hope. 3 weeks passed. Then a letter came. His handwriting. Careful. Slanted. Tom, I read your note 3 times before I could believe it was from you. I won't ask for anything more. I don't deserve more. But thank you for sending that. I'm trying. For real this time. That's all it said. And that was enough. Sometimes healing doesn't need applause. Just silence, space, and the belief that maybe people can change. Even the ones who hurt you the most. Life didn't go back to normal. Because honestly, I didn't want it to. Normal used to mean avoidance. Suppression. Quietly absorbing the weight of everyone else's choices and calling it maturity. But now, I wanted different. Better. Not just peace, purpose. I started therapy again. Not because I was breaking, but because I finally wanted to understand the pieces. I told my therapist everything. About Nate. The house. The party. The guilt. The letter. She asked me something that stuck. What would forgiveness look like if you didn't know it? I didn't know how to answer. Not yet. But I started exploring it. I wrote letters. Never sent them. Just emptied my chest on a paper. The kind of words I'd never spoken aloud. How it felt being the fixer. The peacekeeper. The one everyone expected to be fine. How it stung when your own brother saw your kindness as currency. How it hurt worse when you still loved him anyway. Sometimes I'd read them back and cry. Other times I'd burn them in the fire pit he once used to destroy my things. It felt fitting. Cleansing. A few months later, I got another letter. This one from a halfway house. Nate was still clean. Still working the program. Still not asking for anything. But this time, he ended with, if you ever want to talk, not about the past, but the future, I'd like that. No pressure. Just, maybe we could get coffee sometime. As 2 grown men trying to rebuild. I folded the letter and sat with it for a long time. Then I did something I never thought I would. I said yes. Not because I forgot. Not because he earned it. But because sometimes, the strongest boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. Doors you can open on your terms. We met that Sunday. Neutral ground. A quiet place. No big talk. No apologies. Just 2 coffees and a couple of cautious smiles. He looked smaller, softer, like the armor was finally off. I didn't ask for explanations. He didn't offer any. And weirdly, that felt right. We talked about weather, books, sports. The silence between us felt awkward at first, then steady. And as we stood to leave, he said, thanks for showing up. I nodded. You too. Then we went our separate ways. No promises. No illusions. Just a beginning. Or maybe, a continuation. One where I got to choose the terms. And for the first time since this all began, I walked back into my house not with dread, but with peace. Because it wasn't about the house anymore. It was about what I rebuilt inside it. The funny thing about rebuilding is that you start noticing the cracks you used to ignore. A creaky stair. A flickering light. The way a certain corner of the hallway always felt colder than the rest. That's how healing works too. You don't just fix what broke. You finally start seeing what was always off, but you never had the time or courage to deal with. So I fixed the stair. I replaced the bulb. I insulated the wall. And then I did something symbolic. Something small, but monumental to me. I repainted the front door. Bright navy blue. Not because it matched anything, but because it felt new. Mine. Like a punctuation mark at the end of a long, bitter sentence. That same week, I got a postcard. No envelope. Just a photo of a hiking trail in Colorado. On the back, still clean, still trying. Found a part-time gig that doesn't make me want to throw punches. Hope you're good. N. I read it once. Then again. Then I pinned it on the fridge. Not because I wanted to remember him, but because I wanted to remember this, that people can crash hard and still find their footing. That letting go doesn't mean slamming the door forever. It means knowing when to open it and when to leave it shut. My therapist asked me once, if your house could talk, what would it say? Back then, I think it would have said, I'm tired. I'm full of ghosts. I don't feel safe. Now it would say, I am still standing. I have seen storms. I have been tested. And I am still yours. Some scars don't need covering. Some rooms echo less when you're not pretending they never echoed at all. And when I lay in bed now, with no noise but my breath and the distant hum of streetlights, I don't feel tense. I don't feel watched. I don't feel owed or owned. I feel steady, like a man who lost something, and finally knows exactly what he found in its place. It's been a year, 12 full months since the day I handed my brother $5,000 and watched him vanish down the driveway like a man headed for exile. In some ways, it feels like yesterday. In others, like a different lifetime entirely. The house is quieter now, not just in sound, but in energy. No tension vibrating beneath the walls. No fear of slammed doors or sideways glances. Just peace. I built a bookshelf last month. Real wood, hand-sanded, no shortcuts. Something about the grain and glue and weight felt grounding. Funny how healing shows up in little things. The friends I used to keep at arm's length, I see them more now. Not because I need distraction, but because I finally have space. Emotional space. Mental space. I started teaching too, night classes at a local community center. Intro to sales and communication. It's small, but it matters. Sharing what I know. Being useful in ways that don't drain me. Every so often, I think of Nate. Not with anger. Not even with sadness. With curiosity. The last I heard, he'd moved to Oregon. Working at a nature camp. Said he liked the quiet. Ironic, isn't it? The man who filled every room with noise now choosing silence. Sometimes I wonder what we would have been like if things had gone differently. If he hadn't burned the bridge. If I hadn't finally said no. But I don't regret it. Because that line, the one I drew, it saved me. And maybe, in some strange way, it saved him too. Not every relationship needs a comeback. Some just need closure. Some just need a full stop. I keep his last postcard in a drawer now. Not on the fridge. Not on display. Because I'm not trying to make it part of my story anymore. It was a chapter. This is the rest. A man in his house. Whole. Free. And finally, home.